If we don't get penalties and we don't get fumbles and we don't get interceptions, we can win the dead-gum ball game.
I said, are you strong? They said, I'm strong if you strong. I said, we strong then.
What are you doing?
Down to the 50, down the sideline to the 40, down to the 30. He separates. He's to the 20, to the 10, to the 5. Touchdown, Florida State.
Let's party, Tallahassee.
He's got PK Sam. Oh, man. He makes the catch. Touchdown, Marshall. Touchdown, PK Sam. 55 seconds left. Sam takes a touchdown catch from Ricks. It's 52 yards. 52 yards. Florida State leads 37-34. I see you, PK Sam.
Shots there. Good shot. Knowles win. Knowles win. Michael Stairs triple with no time left. Florida State beats Duke 76-73. The little team that could just did.
I said, guys, we didn't come here for no reason.
Hey, my brother, put a smile on your face. Okay? Because Florida State, if we gonna do it then, we do it big. Let's go, baby.
Here's the snap, handoff on the belly dive, and Stevenson's going to try to root his way in. He breaks through. He's got the 10, 5, 3, 2 yards. Touchdown FSU. Yes, Ronnie Stevenson, senior, playing his final game. I thought he was tackled to the line of scrimmage. Root hogging his way, and he broke into daylight, and he scores a touchdown.
If we don't get penalties and we don't get fumbles and we don't get interceptions, we can win the dead-gum ball game.
I said, are you strong? They said, I'm strong if you strong. I said, we strong then.
What are you doing?
Welcome to Double Fries No Slaw. It is Sunday, October 18th. Alongside, as always, Freddie Stevenson and Richie Barnes, I am TJ Pittenger. And for the second time in Double Fries No Slaw history, we have a victory Sunday. But this one feels a whole lot better than that last one did. I was glad to beat Jacksonville State, but ain't nothing like beating a top 5 opponent in Doak under the lights, boys. How y'all doing here on this Sunday?
Richie, man, how you feeling, man? I know last night, man, you were on me, man. How you feeling, man? Hey,
man, I was hurting this morning. I'm not gonna lie. I had a headache, man. I had trouble getting out of bed. I can't drink for like 8-9 hours a day like I used to. But it was a great weekend. Florida State got that big win against number 5 North Carolina. The Bucks go down 10-0 against Green Bay and drop 38 unanswered on them, looking like a Super Bowl contender. It was a great sports weekend for me.
Rays win the World Series. Hey, man, don't leave my boys out.
Win the AL. Yeah, the Rays won the AL. It was a lot going. And I got my first fantasy football win since week 1. So I'll take it.
you know it was a great weekend for me when you lose all your bets, but you're still happy because your team covered. Listen, man, we ain't had a win like that in a long time, and it feels great, man. Hey, hopefully we can build on it this week. They got us as underdogs, so hopefully we can build on that performance.
I'm excited to get into it. But before we even do, Frank just said that. Last time we had this feeling, last time we beat a top 5 team, 2014, Freddie was on that team, got the game-winning block on Carlos's game-winning touchdown. Always like to shout out the fullback. Haven't had this feeling in 6 years. And even in that one, it's a little bit different because we were favored to win. We were supposed to win that game. We had Winston. We had all the weapons, Rashad, Freddie, all these guys. And so this was different, man. This one, I haven't come off the high yet. Like I've just, every time I got, my wife was tired last night. She went to bed. I got upstairs and she rolled over and she said, did we end up losing? I was like, no, we won. And so she was excited. So, man, I'll take more of those. You guys alluded to that. I'll take being an underdog again this week, going up to Louisville. We'll obviously get into it, but write me down for a win before we even do the predictions. I'm jumping on the Brian and Ed train here, picking the Knowles. Double fries, no slaw, brought to you by Guthrie's in Tallahassee. Always appreciate them. Go order 2 gut boxes because you're feeling good about the win this week. Order at Double Fries No Slaw at 1818 West Tennessee Street and 2550 North Monroe. Tell them that we sent you and tag us in those social media posts. Really appreciate their support and their partnership over these first few months. And glad to continue to working with them through this Mike Norvell era at Florida State. So shout out Guthrie, shout out all that they do for us. And y'all show them some love on social media. And again, go run by wherever you are close to a Guthrie's, wherever you live. Hopefully there is one and you can get some double fries, no slaw. Freddie, you're not that far. You're in Lakeland right now. You can come over. Tampa's not that far. We got to meet this week and go get some gut box.
Yeah, I'll be running around, man. I got some business moves I'm handling. So we'll see how everything work out for sure. But
we got to go get it.
My busiest time of the year so far.
Woo.
Yeah.
That money ain't gonna make itself, so I feel you on that. And before we get started, I want to say this as well. I know I've been talking a lot. Prayers up for Coach Bowden. There's been some reports going around before we even get anything with the game or anything with a breakdown or anything like that. Been some reports running around, and then some things got confirmed that he had a little scare with his diabetes, got kind of dehydrated on Friday night. There were some crazy rumors running around. I mean, I got a couple of people sent me a couple of messages that were pretty concerning, and it just didn't seem good with the Twitter timeline, but it sounds like he's doing a little bit better. 90-year-old GOAT beat COVID last week, and so whatever else is coming up against him, I don't think it stands a chance. So shout out to the legend, Bobby Bowden. Keep him in your prayers. I was glad we got that win for him last night. I don't even know if he was watching or not. Oh, yeah, Ann said he was up watching football. So, yeah, he was watching. So, shout out to Bobby.
Yeah, man, he's the GOAT, and he's as good as a football coach. He's an even better person. It might sound cliche, but with him, it really is the truth. So, definitely sending prayers his way and to his family because, you know, we want him around as long as we possibly can have him.
Yeah, without a doubt. Whenever you hear his players come back and they speak on him, they talk about the person that he was first. And when these parents that brought their kids to the school, that's the biggest thing that won them over with Coach Bowden, the person that he was. And you get a feel for that early when you speak with him. So I'm praying for him with everything he's going through. And I know he'll get through it. He's a warrior, so we know he'll get through it.
Anybody, anytime, anywhere. Doesn't just apply to football with Coach Bowden. He's going to kick whatever's going on's butt. So, Freddie, did you I know he was gone when you got there, but did you ever have any interactions with him, or did you ever come speak to the team and you get a chance to be around him, or
no, we didn't really get to be around him much. Yeah, just mainly from a distance. We saw him from a distance whenever he would come. I came to one game and planted the spear, and then it was another event he spoke at, but we didn't really get much interaction with him.
Thought you did a good job of I don't know if it was by design or just what he wanted, or if he just wanted to enjoy retirement or what. So maybe it wasn't a good job. Maybe it was, who knows. But I thought you did a good job of letting Jimbo kind of like have it. You know, it's tough to be the guy that follows the legend. So he did a good job of not, being right up in Jimbo's business, while he's trying to run a program and stuff. And I'm sure Bobby enjoyed his time away. But it's been cool to see him back at different stuff. I was at the spring game, I guess, with Taggart. And I was kind of I was standing right where the players run out from the locker room under the tunnel. And I mean, he just walked right by us, walking out on the field. And I mean, of course, everybody's yelling, Coach Bowden, Coach Bowden. He was super nice. I mean, he stopped and talked with people, shake their hand, thanked them for being there. I mean, dude's at that point, I guess 88 years old, tired. It was a late night. Just, the nicest guy that, like Richie said, is as good of a coach, an even better person. And like you said, every player that he's ever had will attest to that. So, but anyway, shout out him and hope things definitely get better there. Man, we beat a top 5 opponent last night, guys. I guess we're going to get into it real quick and talk about it a little bit. But from the very start, the Noles have started games fairly well this year. The Miami game maybe is the exception to that, but it have started games, well, and Jacksonville State, I guess. But in the other 3 games, the other 3 ACC games have started games pretty well. Florida State came out, forced to stop, didn't get a 3-and-out, but forced to stop pretty quickly, and then had a punt blocked immediately. Special teams shows up, and immediately Ja'Kai Douglas gets a block. DeKalen Brooks picks the ball up and runs it back 18 yards, and the Noles are in prime scoring position. After Georgia Tech had 3 kicks blocked, and then UCF blocked a couple, I kind of thought our special teams might be kind of a mirage. I didn't know if we were as good as we thought we were that day on special teams, but man, 2 punt blocks in this game yesterday that really swung or really kept momentum our way. Pretty impressive to see Florida State start like that, huh?
Yeah, I think in these type of games, you have to punch the team in the mouth early, and that's exactly what we did. We gave ourselves a chance to be in this game. And UNC, they thought it was going to be a sweet game. They thought it was just going to walk into our stadium, Doak Campbell, and get an easy win based off what we put on film. And early on in this game, we came out and we made a statement, and we just kept building off of that.
Yeah, you talk about, being a 13.5-point underdog, hosting a top 5 team. That's what you need for upsets to happen, right? You need blocked kicks, you need turnovers, you need some type of positive plays that get things going early. And we had it all, man. That blocked punt, and then Jordan Travis, man, what a read on that touchdown run he had on that first drive, where it looked like he was dead to rights. It should have been a loss of 2. And he just cuts it back upfield in 23-yard touchdown, man. That's exactly how you had to start the game if you wanted to have a chance to win it. And that's what happened. And obviously we know what the outcome was, but it's huge. And Mike Norvell had great special teams at Memphis. Like TJ said, with Georgia Tech, we didn't know because the very next week UCF had the same success blocking kicks. But Florida State now leads the country with 5 blocked kicks on the season. Amazing. It makes a difference, and it definitely made a huge difference last night.
Florida State gets the ball back, and as Richie alluded to, immediately scores. And when we ran the play, so I missed the block. Where was I last night? Oh, just with, I have 2 kids that are 2 and under. With putting kids down and trying to get rolling and stuff, I didn't even see the block. I saw it on Twitter while I was giving I was either taking the bottle upstairs with my son or something. I don't know. But I saw it on Twitter and I was like, oh, I got to go, babe. You got these kids. I got to go see what's going on. So I get downstairs and I watch the play that Travis scored on. And I thought beyond a shadow of a doubt that it was going to be a loss. Like, I didn't think there was any chance in heck that we were going to – he waited until – it reminded me of? It was a read option instead of a speed option where you would pitch the ball, but it reminded me of Everett Golson tossing the ball to Dalvin against Miami in 2015, where he literally could not have waited one more second, right? Like he waited until the last possible second to pitch that ball. And that's what Jordan did in that touchdown play. Pulls the ball out of the running back stomach, sneaks through a very small hole, and then is just off to the races. And you kind of see immediately, okay, Florida State's in this game. Can we keep this going? Freddie, you broke down this play on your Extra Sauce segment, which is going to come out tomorrow morning, and I'm super excited for. You want to give the guys a sneak preview of what they're going to hear on that?
Yeah, Dillingham and Norvell, they were in their bad this game. Just looking back at that first play, you just got your traditional read option, but they put their own little twist on it. You got a guard and a tackle pulling backside, messing with the eye discipline of defense, and that completely sucks the defense in, and it messes with the integrity of the defense. And he's reading this play, and now he sees this tackle coming across the play, so he assumes it's a run. And shout out to Jordan Travis. He held this mesh in and sold the run, and the last minute pulled it out. Like you said, it was kind of like the Notre Dame game. I think, matter of fact, Miami game. I'm tripping.
You're on whatever.
Miami game, but he held it in to the last minute, and he pulled it out. And after that, it was just he made a play. We had two guys leading him out there, made a guy miss, and then.
Yeah, for me, it was funny. Like UCF and Memphis went long, right? So like by the time that ABC broadcast went on my TV, literally as soon as it came on, I saw Jordan Travis running for the touchdown. So I missed the blocked punt as well, TJ. And then I'm thinking, well, this had to be like a couple play drive at least. Like, no, that was the first and only play of that drive. So UCF, screw you guys. I'm glad you lost and you made me miss the first few plays there. But yeah, man, it was, again, ideal start. You could not have drawn that up better for Florida State to pull this upset.
And then they pan to the stands, and who else but Devin Travis is up there dancing. Former Double Fries alum is up there dancing, and man, you could tell the stadium was loud all night. I know it was only a quarter of the fans, but had people in our Discord, had people on the timeline, had people texting me that the place was loud, and man, I think the Noles ended up running away with it a lot farther if that's a full stadium, because Howell was shook. We'll talk a little more about him later, but man, glad that the atmosphere was what it was. And then, all three sides of the team get into it. Notre Dame, I'm going to say Notre Dame 14 times tonight. North Carolina comes back out and goes 3-and-out. The defense forces a 3-and-out immediately. And I think it was at that point that I said, okay, long way to go. Only about 5 minutes of game time had gone by. Not even 5 minutes of game time had gone by. But I thought, man, they're fired up. They forced 2 punts to start this game. And, man, I am excited for the way that this is going to go down. Florida State gets the ball back. They go 3-and-out. They punt the ball back to North Carolina. And North Carolina ends up having to punt the ball again. The defense bows up. After a penalty on a 3rd and 6, forces a 3rd and 11. Howell throws incompletion, and then Marvin Wilson gets another punt block for the Noles. That's his. Does he have 3 blocks now, or is that just his second block of the year? Either way, Marvin Wilson gets a punt block, and the Noles are back in business again. So the special teams continues to make plays. At least in the first half, the special teams made positive plays. And that ends up leading to a 91-yard drive that we only came away with 3 on. But that drive spanned a long time and took about 4 plays. 4 or 5 minutes off the clock, ended the first quarter, and then we kept going, and we take a 10-0 lead. What were your thoughts at this point when the Noles go up 10-0?
I was kind of worried, to be honest, because after that first drive where we had a little success, we stalled out. And I knew it was only a matter of time before North Carolina put some points on the scoreboard. So I was like, man, we got to take advantage while we can, because we know they're going to score eventually. So I was kind of getting nervous when we kept stalling out on drives. And then we got pinned back a little bit deep. And that's where our offensive coordinators, they were in their bag. We were pinned deep on that 3rd and 6, I believe. And that run option we had to the tight end, that was a beauty. I don't even think he's caught a pass all year. I got to figure out his name. I don't know if y'all know it, but I got to figure out his name.
Daniel. Yeah,
Daniel. Okay.
Daniel.
Hey, Daniel, you probably could have hit the back of the end zone if you stayed forward. You ran into one of the guys on the defense, man. Your blocker was blocking for you, but that was a beautiful call, man. And that got us back rolling, and defense kept firing on all cylinders.
Like you said, man, what a play call, because I was shocked. I thought for sure, like, okay, just, we don't want to do anything stupid. Just let Travis pit. Maybe he gets the first down. If not, just punt it back away. The defense is playing solid so far. And then he just pops that out to Daniel. And Freddie, I think Daniel was a little surprised about how wide open he was and wasn't really sure what to do with the ball. So he just turns upfield. He's like, man, I just got to run. He's like, this is what's going on here. So, man, that was a beautiful play call. And it's disappointing to only get 3 points there. But when you consider after the penalty, you basically start on your own 1.5 yard line, any points right there is outstanding. And you think I think that was a drive where Wilson was literally about half a toe from scoring a touchdown. So that was just, man, Dillingham and Norvell, they, like Freddie, you said they were in the bag, man. They were calling everything, and that play caught everyone by surprise.
The Noles were up 7-0 at that point with a 3rd and 6 on their own 7-yard line. And I think everybody in the stadium, everybody that wasn't on Florida State sideline, everybody in the stadium, everybody at home, everybody watching, assumed that Florida State was going to run the read option. Travis may or may not get the first down, but this is just a safe play on your own 7-yard line. You're a big dog. You're leading. It's near the end of the first quarter. Get to the end of the quarter and then punt the ball back if you don't pick up the first down, which we talked a little bit about last night on the reaction show. Jordan Travis was an absolute warrior and probably would have gone and picked up the first down had they just run a read option play anyway. But to pull that play out and end up, again, I thought that play was massive because it, at the very least, just flipped field position. I think I put that in the Discord. Hey, even if we don't score here, now we're up on the 40-yard. Like, we're going to punt the ball and be fine. You know, we're not playing in our own end zone. And then Florida State is able to go down and get the 3 points. On the next drive, North Carolina drives for 50 yards and then is stopped on – I mean, there's a lot of plays of the game in this game, but I'm just telling you, that 4th and 1 where I had no obviously none of us had confidence in the defense picking North Carolina to score 41 and 38 and 45 points and everything else this game. But for that defense game, but the D-line got pushed, and that stop on 4th and 1 within their field goal range was massive.
Yeah, if you just go back and look at that play, like we've been killing our defensive line all season. You can go back and look at that play. We completely changed the line of scrimmage on that play. Like, they had no chance to get that first down, and that's the way Florida State is used to playing. That's the type of defensive line play we're used to seeing. So that was a beauty to see, man. I almost jumped out of my seat. I was at the sports bar at the moment, and they were like, "Yo, what's going on with this guy over here?" But shoot, I was excited.
Yeah, I mean, I think you mentioned it on Twitter today, Freddie, that we've given this defensive line a really hard time this year. And it's not because they're not capable. They showed last night. It's because we've been frustrated because we've been waiting for that type of performance. And I know North Carolina's offensive line isn't great. And if that was on the first drive of the game, that 4th and 1, maybe they convert, but they got a lot of confidence with those early stops. And they were giving Howell pressure and fits all night long. I know his numbers ended up looking really good, especially in the second half. But that play, I think it was Cooper who blew up the line of scrimmage there to where there was literally nowhere for him to run. It was just like TJ said, I had no confidence. I'm like, all right, so they're going to get the first down, but let's keep them out of the end zone. Let's hold them to 3 points here. And then they get the stop. And I'm like, man, it was that stop where I started convincing myself, okay, that we have a chance here because, you know, things are really lining up nice for us. It was still really early in the game, so hard not to get too excited. But yeah, man, that play is when I'm like, okay, we got a chance here. This defense, they came to play today.
At that point in the game, let me try and do some quick math here. 2.5, 3.5 is 6. There was 6 minutes and 45 seconds, give or take, left in the half. And we've got the ball 75 yards from the end zone. And I'm kind of thinking to myself, okay, it's 10-0. If we can have kind of which we really don't have long time consuming drives based on the style of offense that we run. But I'm thinking, man, there's 6.5 minutes left. If we can go down and somehow have like a 4 or 5 minute drive that scores a touchdown, we go up 17-0 and go into the half like we've got this. And the way we were stopping their offense, I know that they kind of turned it on in the second half, but the way that we were stopping their offense, you know, I that's where I believe too, Richie. That's where I was like, man, we can do this. Florida State gets the ball back after the 4th and 1, runs a couple of run plays. Webb gets 10 yards. Corbin gets 12 yards, a couple of first downs. And then Travis finds Helton 39 yards down the field, down to North Carolina 12. Finds Helton again to get down to the 8. Travis runs down to the 3. Corbin gets down to the 1, and then Travis punches it in. And the Noles are up 17-0 at this point. And at this point, I think we're all thinking, all right, let's just go. Let's just go blow them out. Like, if this is what we're going to do, let's just go blow them out. And we did in the first half. But Noles go up 17-0 at this point. And I think you really saw the execution. Just Jordan Travis was just fantastic here, running the read option, throwing the ball, knowing when to keep it, and then he gets rewarded with the touchdown at the end of the drive.
Yeah, it was shout out to the coaching staff, like just playing to our players' strength this game. They called a great game plan on this entire drive, man. And that was a big boy catch by Keyshawn Helton. He was wide open and it was kind of underthrown. So at that point, I was like, oh man. But he went up and he grabbed it. And at that, all right, let's go. We really want to win this game. This isn't the Florida State of old. These boys were actually trying to come out here and make a big, massive upset for this team and turn everything around for this university. So I was like, all right, let's go. They done heard us complain all season, seeing us talking crap on Twitter, almost said that word. But hey, listen, that's what you got to do in big games like that. We gonna talk, but y'all got to go out there and play at the end of the day. And they showed up. That was a big time catch, and the guys executed. That was great to see. And the coaches, man, shout out to y'all.
Yeah, man, that play was huge. And, I heard the broadcast announcer say it was underthrown. Yeah, it was a little underthrown, but I mean, he was on the run, kind of somewhat throwing across his body to make that play. And like you said, Helton just went up and he made a grown man's catch right there. He had 3 blue shirts around him or white shirts, whatever they were wearing. It went up and made the catch. And from there, I'm like, I'm driving her nuts because I'm going nuts on the couch, man. I'm like, is this really happening? Is this finally going to happen for Florida State? Because we see teams pull upsets like this all over the country almost every week, but it's never Florida State. But at that moment, I'm like, man, and like you said, it was good that Travis got rewarded to, get in the end zone there on the QB draw or sneak. But yeah, man, that drive at that point, I'm like TJ said, I'm like, okay, all right. How much are we going to win by? Like, I still in the back of my mind, I'm like, I know this North Carolina offense is really, really good. And I knew we were not going to hold them down for 4 quarters. But at that point, it's like, okay, we need to start building this lead because we know North Carolina is going to come on. They're going to turn it on eventually.
And it's like you guys said, I think you guys both said this, or maybe it was just Richie. I don't know. Maybe you guys both said it. You guys are much more optimistic than I am most of the time. And so just what you just said, Richie, like teams pull upsets like this all the time. Every week in college football, a top 5 or certain, maybe not every week a top 5, but top 5 teams always go down, man. Like people are just like, it's a hard game, man. That's why you only end up with one team in a playoff that's undefeated. And so it happens all the time. Last week, Florida went down a top 5. Georgia's a top 5 team that went down this week. Obviously, they were playing a team that was ranked ahead of them, but top 5 teams lose all the time. And so why not us? I remember you guys saying that. Why not us? Why not us that gets this upset? And, I didn't believe in the Notre Dame game, and I don't know that I believed to start the North Carolina game. But, man, once they got it rolling, once Travis went in there at 17-0, I think I was like, all right, man, this is it. Why not us? Why can't – I mean, crazier things have happened than us beating a number 5 team in the country, at home. So if that 4th down stop wasn't the play of the game, big catch this because the TV was slow coming back, and they were kind of – I was cutting the clip up today for Freddie's Extra Sauce segment that's going to come out tomorrow, and the TV was coming back slow to it. Like North Carolina must have taken a timeout or something because they were coming back from commercial or maybe an interview or something. I'm not sure, or maybe it was Norvell taking the time. I don't know. Norvell took some timeouts too, but regardless of what happens, Sam Howell, Florida State took it. Norvell took the timeout with 2:52 to go. Sam Howell tries to throw I don't know if it was a swing or a screen, but had something set up to the running back. And Joshua Kando, I mean, he nearly just handed Kando the ball. Kando grabs the ball. And that's one of those ones that it always feels like Florida State drops, right? Or just bats down. And you're like, dude, just catch the ball, man. Just catch the ball. And he did. He caught it perfectly and waltzed into the end zone. 24-0, the Noles lead. And at this point, I'm looking at Kara saying, the Rays are going to go to the World Series, and we're going to upset a top 5 team in the same night. Like, I was thinking we were going 0 for 2. What in the world's going on? And so, biggest defense, I don't remember. That's the biggest defensive play I remember since What, Eddie Goldman? It's stripping Clemson. I mean, obviously we intercepted the pass against Louisville in 2018 that ended up letting us win that game. But I mean, that Louisville team was trash. So I don't remember
Ramsey intercepting Kaya in that game down in Miami.
2014. So that's the same year. So yeah, Notre Dame happened before it. Yeah, maybe that Ramsey interception. Even without that, like if he just knocks that away, though, like it just it was fourth down. So I don't know, but it's on that level, right? Like it's on the Goldman strip against Clemson. It's on the Ramsey interception against Kaya. Like I'm not putting it as high as the PJ interception, but it's high. Like it's high. So Kano takes that in, and Kano was somebody that everybody said in the offseason, like I know that you're not expecting Kano to get a lot of interceptions and certainly not pick sixes. But Kano is somebody that people have said was impressive in the offseason. So it was good to see him get in and make a play like that for sure.
Yeah, when you look back at that play, I think it's a lot more impressive when you actually watch the play. Kano started his pass rush and he aborted it once he saw that swing route. The backer's guarding that back out of the backfield. He's coming down on him. And then Kano notices what North Carolina's trying to do. And he aborts that pass rush and he jumps in front of this play. That's what's the most impressive. He could have just been a robot and just went through the motions with his pass rush, but he noticed what they were trying to do in that third down situation, and he jumped in front of this play. That was major. That's a big-time play.
And it couldn't have happened to a better player, I think, who needed something like that to happen, because his career, unfortunately, he was I think a top 3 player in the country coming out of high school, 5-star, number 1 defensive end. Injuries have kind of plagued his career a bit, and he hasn't really delivered to no fault of his own. But for him to make that play in that moment in a big game against a top 5 team at home, I don't know Joshua Kando, but from all accounts, he's an extremely high character individual. Nobody outworks him, and he comes in and he's a businessman, shows up to work every single day. And to see him rewarded like that on a huge play, that at that point, I'm thinking, no way we're losing this game right now. We're up 24-0. It got closer than we wanted it to the end, but man, I was just so happy for Kando, because he's a guy that, a lot of people thought he might transfer, maybe go back closer to Baltimore, maybe go to Maryland or something, but he stayed with Florida State. He's a Jimbo recruit, lived through the Willie Taggart era, decided to stick with Norvell and to make a play like the kid.
North Carolina comes out after that, and Florida State gets a sack on the first play. There's 2:41 left to go in the game. Florida State gets a sack. Jarvis Brownlee Jr. Puts UNC in a 2nd and 16, and with 2:39 on the clock, Mike Norvell takes a timeout. Harlan mentioned this on the instant reaction show last night. Norvell takes a timeout, and I remember even just tweeting on the timeline, like, dude, don't take the timeout. Go to the half. You're up 24-0. You get the ball first. You're a 13.5-point underdog. Like, dude, what are you doing? Why would you take this timeout at this point? But he stuck to it and ended up taking more later. North Carolina ends up converting, get closer to the goal line. And then there were a couple of bad penalties by Florida State. There was a targeting on Corey Durden on a 2nd and goal from the 7, in which they lost 3 yards. Would have been 3rd and goal from the 10, and I really like Florida State to end up stopping them on that 3rd and 10. It probably would have just been 28-3 at that point instead of 28-7. I'm sorry, 24-7. But did not end up. They end up calling the targeting, which really, with 1:16 to go in the first half, that's probably about the best time that somebody could get called to go in the first half. Then 1 minute gone in the second, right? So that kind of happened at a good time for Florida State. North Carolina ends up scoring there. Another penalty, a roughing the passer penalty on a 1st and goal at the 3. But North Carolina ends up scoring there to go up 20-7. All the while, Florida State's still taking timeouts. They took another timeout after that, after a 1st and goal from the 10 play, and they're keeping the clock stopped here. And again, Harlan brought this up, but this ended up being monumental because Florida State, with 1:02 to go, I'm thinking, fine, 24-7. That's okay. Go to the half, up 24-7. But Florida State comes out, runs Travis for 15 yards, runs him again for 15 yards, ends up having a pass complete to Thompson for 33 yards, and then finding Cameron McDonald for 12 yards in the back of the end zone. And that's how the half ends, 31-7. So thoughts around the penalties that we took and then the drive there at the end to really go up, and that was the game-winning touchdown ended up being.
Yeah, the penalties kind of killed us on that drive. We had that big Marv personal foul that kind of got him down there. And then the Durden play was tough because he was aiming for the right area, but Sam Howell gets tackled, and then it was incidental, but it is what it is. It happens sometimes in ball. But like you said, it's good that it happened at the end of the first half versus at the beginning of the second half. They score, and at this point, I'm kind of worried, like, how is our team going to respond? And then they go down there and they have that drive. I'm like, who is this team, man? That responding to adversity? Like, all right, we really want to win. All right, let's go.
Yeah, and I think, I didn't even catch it in real time, really until today, but lost in all this, it's related to that drive. Unfortunately, like Freddie said, that targeting, it's by the letter of the law, it was the right call. It's unfortunate because, he was trying to make the right play and it worked out that way. But Dennis Briggs, he opted out before the season and decided to opt back in. And could you think of a better time for him to opt back in when you don't have, when Marvin Wilson goes out? I know Lovett was missing some time. I think Cooper missed or Durden missed some time. So that defensive line was really thin. And Dennis Briggs coming in, and he played outstanding. I think he played 35 snaps. And this was his first game of the season. But yeah, you talk about the penalties, they are what they are. We're going to see those. Hopefully we grow past that, but penalties like that, they don't get cleaned up in 1 week. But that offensive drive was beautiful. That touchdown pass to Cam McDonald, I thought Travis was either going to just like run it out of bounds or throw the ball away. Then he just stops on a dime and throws it across his body to Cam McDonald, who just finds a spot in the zone. And at that point, like, man, that was huge, because even 24-7, you still feel pretty good about it. Knowing you're going to get the ball to start the second half, but 31-7 felt a lot better going into the half.
Yeah, and it ended up being just enough. We'll get into the second half in just a second, but at 31-7, that it has to be a monumental breakdown, right? Like every single thing that could possibly go wrong has to go wrong for you to lose that game. And it almost did, right? Like we'll get into the second half in a minute, but that touchdown was obviously so huge and just ended up letting, obviously we want Florida State to be aggressive. We don't want them to get conservative in the second half, but it allowed Florida State to be conservative, right? Like it allowed them we'll talk about it in a minute, in the fourth quarter to have a 6.5 minute drive. Didn't come away with any points, but killed most of the clock there. If you're down and you still have to throw, then you might, in 6 minutes, you might give North Carolina 3 possessions. There were 7 possessions in the first 6 minutes of the game last night. So, that touchdown was so big because, again, the second half didn't go the way we wanted, but it allowed us to play the way that we needed to win. I want to bring this up. Somebody just commented this. Actually, my buddy Matt from Bay Cannon, which I'm shouting Bay Cannon out because I'm wearing this. The timeouts. He says the timeouts came because Coach used all of his timeouts last week with 3.5 minutes left, and the D bucked up, or the D backed him up down 16. Coach used those timeouts. We got the stop there on the goal line, and so he had faith in the defense. And very likely, without some of those penalties, we're going to stop them again on that goal line stand, right? And I agree. I mean, Durden's play is unfortunate. What stinks is that he lowered his head, and so that's what was the nail in the coffin. Yeah. But, man, the way they call that penalty, even if he'd have kept his head up, it would have been helmet to helmet because Howell went low. And I've seen refs do a decent job of when the quarterback goes low and the defensive lineman was already going into him with his face up, not always calling that, but sometimes they still call that. And so – I don't know. It's kind of just an unfortunate thing. I thought we missed Durden in the second half, but I'm glad that we got him back against the game. I know they let him stand on the sideline now. I mean, whatever. I mean, is that much better? Like, do you want to be on the sideline that close to the game and not be able to go in? But like, man, I hate that they kick players out of the game for that, but I'm glad that he'll be back next week for sure. So halftime, 31-7. I think at this point we all think, you know, we're all like Googling where the national championship is, right? Like how to buy airline tickets, how like if we win out, can we still get back in it? Like are we too far back or what it's going to look like? We're seeing like who plays who at the top. No, but second half comes out and Florida State starts the second half. I mean, didn't finish the drive really, really well, but starts the second half about as well as you could have hoped for, right? Webb runs for 11 yards, Travis runs for 7 yards, and then Webb has a 54-yard run that no slight to Cam at all, because I was a huge Cam Akers fan, but I haven't seen a player as Dalvin. I'm not trying to get canceled this early in the show, but that run was something special. That before we get to the missed field goal and how that drive ended up ending, thoughts on that run?
Switching around the blocking assignments on this play, normally on your stretch zones, you have your guard and your tackle zoning up, or they switched the responsibilities. They had our tackle and our tight end zoning up, and the guard was pulling out, and that gave us the angles we needed to get outside on that play. And then Webb did everything else from there. That was a great run. And when you watch him run, he's always falling forward. That's the biggest thing. When you watch film, is the running back falling forward, or is he getting knocked on his back every play? Webb is always falling forward. That's what I love about him.
Yeah, man, that was an electric run. Like you said, he's up going towards the right sideline there, and there was an offensive lineman. I think it was Love Taylor, where when Webb cuts back, you see Love Taylor like turn around and think the play's over, and then he starts running again. It's like, oh crap, he's still running. And he just made a beautiful run. And I know we all liked Corbin coming into the season as RB1, and I still think he has a spot on this roster, and he brings a lot of value to the offense, but from what I've seen through the season so far, LaDainian Webb's the best running back we have, and I don't think it's really close right now.
So after that, drive kind of went south and soured. I didn't have a lot of complaints with the coaching staff last night. I did not like handing the ball right back off to Webb here. I understand the idea that you're trying to go. I mean, and Freddie, you may disagree with this. Richie, you may disagree with this. I understand the aspect of trying to go fast and catch the defense off guard, which I think is a big part of, what Florida State does. They move quickly. I didn't love handing the ball right back off to him after a 54-yard run, kind of winded, kind of out of breath. I don't know how much it impacted the play or not, but maybe that would have been a spot for Corbin, but didn't love that play call. But regardless of the play call, so we lost 3 yards there. Regardless of the play call, we ended up getting called for a 15-yard personal foul penalty that, man, when you're a read option team, you can't be in 2nd and 18. You're not going to count on Travis too many times to have to complete 20-yard passes down the field in the red zone. Really bad personal foul penalty by Florida State. Backs the drive up to the 21. We throw an incompletion to Corbin and then a completion to Corbin for 6 yards and then end up missing a field goal. But absolute drive killer, that personal foul call.
Yeah, I think on this play, they just probably thought that with Webb, that run, he was starting to get in the rhythm. So they're like, all right, he's starting to get hot. Let's see where this goes. And unfortunately, they got some penetration on that play, and that kind of killed us. And then we get those personal fouls, and that ultimately killed the drive. But I wasn't really upset about the play call because I knew what direction they were going in, and at that point they thought, all right, he's getting hot. Let's keep on feeding him. But we just didn't get any push up front on that play, and UNC stopped that one. But the personal fouls killed us on that drive.
Yeah, I don't really have a problem with the play call because they said, like you said, you're going fast. If this is a pro style Jimbo Fisher offense, that Webb's probably coming off the field and that someone's coming in to spell him right there. But again, they're going fast, so that if you make a substitution, you have to allow the defense to make a substitution as well, and they can take their sweet time doing it at that point. So I get the concept of what he was trying to do, but obviously it didn't work out. But yeah, I mean, these personal fouls, that you got to clean them up because they're selfish penalties. And one thing I love is Norvell. If you get a 15-yarder, you walk to the sideline, he's waiting for you, and he's going to let you know about it too. It had shades of Jimbo kind of ripping into Jameis, that type deal. On the sideline. And I kind of like to see that, man, because these players that they haven't had that for a while, probably their entire career at Florida State, really, they kind of, how many times have we seen them get a 15-yard penalty, then the next series they're right back out on the field? So that, Norvell is holding these kids accountable. And I think we're seeing the culture change, week by week. And, hopefully we continue to clean those up. And, special teams, it has been outstanding. You can't put missed field goals on your special teams coordinator, in my opinion, because it's, they all have their own kicking coaches. But yeah, those penalties are brutal. And, I was glad we were able to bounce back and survive those.
Florida State misses the field goal. It's still 31-7. Forces another fourth down, gets another fourth down stop. North Carolina comes out, drives 74 yards over 10 plays. Howell ends up throwing an incompletion. 4th and 3 on FSU 6. North Carolina is down 31-7 at this point. I guess didn't feel that the field goal to go down 31-10 would be worth much. And so they go for it. Obviously, that would have been worth a lot. Looking back at how the game panned out, I'm glad they did go for it. End up having to burn a timeout, and then Sam Howell throws incomplete to Daz Newsome, and Florida State gets the ball back at their own 6. Bend but don't break defense. At the end of the day, you can give up a lot of yards. You can give up a lot of plays that you don't want to, but they didn't let them score. Didn't let them get 3, didn't let them get 7. A great play for FSU, a great drive that used up a lot of time, but then didn't end up culminating any points.
Yeah, my favorite thing about that stop is the fact that it showed that these guys learned a lot from that Notre Dame game. We're in a lot of those same situations against Notre Dame where we're putting these match coverages, and guys just weren't understanding where their help was coming from. They were completely lost in coverage. And then we get another opportunity in this situation. They were on it. Like the guy tried to run a double move on us, and we had inside safety help. We had one high safety, and the guy he knew that his help was inside, so he knew he could play a little bit aggressive. And the safety did his job, and the ball goes in the back of the end zone. We get our stop. That was great to see that these guys are actually learning from these mistakes that we're making, and we're getting better. That's great to see.
Yeah, defense is all about confidence, right? Like offense is a little different. Everyone needs to be in the same rhythm. Confidence obviously helps there. But the defense, they looks like they weren't really sure what they were being asked to do the first few weeks of the season. And then, we saw them grow up a little bit against Notre Dame. And I think that 4th down stand, again, you still lose the game by 16, but they showed some pride and fight. And I think the coaches challenged them to say, hey, you just did it against the number 5 team in the country. Why not do it, on an every down basis? And the defense, they just played with confidence. And obviously they gave up a lot of yards in that second half. But again, when it mattered most, that they came up and did what they had to do to win the game.
Florida State gets the ball back after the 4th down, isn't able to muster anything, starting on their own 6-yard line, ended up having to punt after a quick 3 and out. Travis runs for a loss of 4 yards back down to the 2, and I'm thinking, oh gosh, don't give up the 2 points here. Get the punt off. They do. They end up punting it away to North Carolina, who pretty quickly makes the score 31-15. And at this point, there's 4:07 to go in the game. North Carolina gets the touchdown, a 38-yard pass to Javonte Williams, and gets the 2-point conversion. And you start looking at it and you say, oh man, it's 31-15. It's a 2-score game. There's 19 minutes left in the game. They could score 2 touchdowns in 19 minutes. And so at this point, I'm pretty nervous. What are you guys thinking?
Yeah, I was at that point. I was like, oh man, here it is. But they started killing us with that play action. They were picking on Dixon coverage. He was biting down on that play action and not getting back in the coverage. He was kind of getting stuck on that play action, and they were hitting that seam right behind his back. And that was killing us throughout the game, and they kept taking advantage of that. And that got them a score on that drive.
Yeah, that's when they, like you said, when they hit that 2-point conversion, that made things really different, because all of a sudden it goes from a 3-score game to a 2-score game. And, my wife's looking at me. She's like, you guys are up by 16 points. Why are you nervous? I'm like, just let me be. I've seen this story play out before. So I definitely, was on the edge of my seat after that 2-point conversion, because clearly their offense was getting into a rhythm. Longo, the offensive coordinator, he was starting to get a feel of the game and how to, attack this Florida State defense. And I was definitely nervous heading into that next possession there.
Yeah. And then things continue to go that way, right? Like it didn't stop. We get the ball back, run 3 plays, 9 yards, go 3 and out, and give the ball back to them. Then they go 5 plays, 84 yards, score a touchdown. Thank God missed the 2-point conversion to keep it a 2-score. They had some big plays on this drive. We set our over-under at like 5.5 of 20-plus yard plays. They had 3 this drive, a 21-yard pass, a 40-yard pass, and a 33-yard pass. Really just absolutely lit us up here. I'll tell you, on a 1st and 10, though, from Florida State's our own 22, Janoris Robinson gets a sack to put them in 2nd and 21 as the quarter and there's a second left in the quarter. And I'm thinking like, oh, we're set. Force them to a field goal. We'll still be up 7. We'll still be up really big. We were up 16 at that point. Still be up 13. And then Sam Howell comes out and throws a 33-yard pass. I think on Dent. I think it was Dent in coverage there. I can't remember the exact play. Throws a 33-yard pass. I think it was down on the right side to end up cutting it to 31-21. But I'm telling you, that missed 2-point conversion was big. It kept it a 2-score game. And, like I said earlier, the touchdown at the end of the first half to go up 31-7, at that point, every single thing had to go right for North Carolina. And it didn't, right? Their first big mistake, they missed. A lot of things had. We went 3 and out a couple of times. We missed a field goal after getting a big drive. We're not stopping them. But they missed their 2-point conversion, and that was just like one little chink in the armor, right? Like, okay, we may have this. We may be safe. Thoughts on that drive? I know it was just 3 quick plays where they scored on us pretty quickly, but anything we could have done a little differently there, or just their players making plays on our secondary?
I think to start that drive, they went right back to what gave them success on that last drive, that play action. They knew that our backers were biting hard on that play action. We were getting lost in coverage. So they come right back to that play and they get some yards on us. And then later in coverage, we just had a bust. Our linebacker, he was in coverage and he was in the zone. Like if he stays in coverage, we have a guy over the top. So he has an opportunity to either force a high throw or get an interception if he stays in coverage. But he comes down on Sam Howell when he's rolling out, and it completely vacates the zone, and that's where you get the touchdown. So they found some mistakes in our defense, some holes in our defense, and they took advantage of them on that drive.
Yeah, and it's hard to get too disappointed because it's not like North Carolina's a really bad offense. Yeah, there were some busted coverages there, but at the same time, North Carolina, it doesn't matter who they play. They may not put up a bunch of points on like a Georgia or somebody, but, of 130 teams in the country, they're going to put up points on 125 of them pretty easily. So, we knew we were going to give up some points. It was unrealistic to think we were going to hold them to like 10, 14 points. So that's just football. They hit some big plays. They had their chance. And it was just as much North Carolina going out and making plays as it was, Florida State just not being where they need to be. So I just chalked it up to that's football. That's a really good offense. Good offenses are going to score against anybody. We saw Ole Miss put up 50 points on Alabama. It happens.
Speaking of mistakes, really the biggest mistake that the offense made outside of penalties for the game, Jordan Travis rolls out to the right and is intercepted. Really an impressive interception, but a really, really bad throw. Travis is intercepted by Morrison, and they have the ball really in scoring position. They have the ball on our 30. However, they run a first down play and gain 6 yards, and then Florida State gets a tackle for a loss to back it up to a 3rd and 7, and Sam Howell throws an incompletion to that tight end that was killing us over the middle. They throw an incompletion there, and then North Carolina misses their field goal, right? So with 13 and a half minutes to go, we throw the pick, but it doesn't end up hurting us. Lose, 3 yards of field position. Not a good decision by Travis, but you talk about the defense bowing up and getting another stop in a position where you really, again, didn't have a lot of faith in the defense at this point. With North Carolina driving the ball on us and really moving it at will in the second half, for us to get a stop and a 3 and out even at that, massive by our defense to force them into a field goal attempt, which they end up missing.
Yeah, at this point, I was talking trash on Twitter all game, but when he threw that pick, I was like, is Freddie Stevenson going to have to delete some tweets? I was nervous at that point, man, but how ironic is it that a few years ago we get beat by the kicker and then he misses a field goal in one of the biggest moments of the game? I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the same thing. As soon as he missed that, my mind went right to that 2016 game when North Carolina's kicker made that 54-yard field goal. I'm like, maybe the football gods are starting to come on our sides a little bit and help us with some karma, because we feel like we've been on the wrong end of a lot of stuff like that throughout the years. But to see him miss that, that was huge. And I think the defense, again, that's a win. You kept him out of the end zone. You forced the kicker to make a kick, and he couldn't do it. So that was a big drive and a big moment in the game for Florida State.
Florida State leads at this point by 10, 31-21 with 13:33 to go. And I really thought that Florida State showed a really good positive here. Shout out to the coaching staff. Shout out to Travis and the offense, who were able to run a different type of offense, right? None of their drives were very long before this, but they were able to run a 7-minute drive, 6:59, 11 plays, 53 yards, really be methodical and run the clock from 13:33 down to 6:40. Couple of nice runs by Travis. One on a 3rd and 4 where Travis just kept going after looked like his shoulder was going to fall off and he had gotten tackled pretty hard on it. Absolute warrior there by him. Florida State ends up stalling out on this drive. And I want to ask you about this, Richie. I'm sorry, Freddie. So Richie, I'll take your input too, but I want to hear more from Freddie here. It seemed like at least twice, but maybe 3 times last night. And the guys commentating on the TV talked about this too. We got into 3rd and short and went to the Wildcat. And we may have done that this second time because Travis was hurt and you want to get him out of the play. If that's the case, I mean, maybe just sub him out and put somebody else in. But we went to the Wildcat and we had procedural penalties, right? So I don't know if it was because the guys on TV said it's because the cadence is different, but I don't know if that's something that we can, hopefully it's something we can clean up, because I think that Wildcat can be effective because you get the extra blocker. But if every time you go to it, you're just going to, get a $5 penalty because the offensive line or just whomever can't keep from, running forward, it's not worth going to, right? Like, so a little frustrating there on those plays that, again, 3rd and 3 turned into 3rd and 8.
At the beginning of the play, they know we're in Wildcat, but sometimes they forget. So when you got a guy, his cadence may be fast, and then another guy, his may come in there and may be a little bit slower. So he comes in, and guys are expecting the ball to be snapped, and they're jumping, expecting it to be snapped because they're used to other guys' cadence, and they forget, all right, we got a different guy back here. Those type of things happen. So we definitely got to get that cleaned up, and guys just got to understand the situation in the game. I
thought that one, they end up going, I'll say this real quick, I'll let you go, Richie, but they end up going with the same play, Corbin, or I don't know if it's the same play or not, but the same Wildcat there, that they were the same look that they had the first time. To me, that kind of showed that they were doing it because Travis was probably hurt and couldn't go. At least at quarterback at that point, needed to get checked out, but ended up losing the yard, ended up missing a field goal afterwards and have to give the ball back to North Carolina. But Richie, thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think Freddie kind of nailed it. Obviously, the offensive line, they're not looking at the quarterback, so that cadence is different. But, that Wildcat, it worked multiple times in 3rd and 4th and short against Georgia Tech, I think it was. So I get that play. I do think they were protecting Travis because you saw him on the sideline. His arm, thankfully it was his non-throwing arm, but it looked limp, like it was just hanging there. So he was clearly hurt. But I think you're right, T. They were trying to protect Travis at that point, and they had success earlier in the season on that play. Just unfortunate with the procedure penalties there.
Yeah, Florida State misses another field goal. And at this point, you're just like, okay, can we please have something go right? But what I will tell you is, again, I think that touchdown to end the first half, you're up, instead of being up 3, you're up 10. You're able to run 7 minutes worth of clock down. And though you missed the field goal, you're making it a really, really narrow window for North Carolina. There is 6 minutes and 40 seconds to go. And North Carolina is down 10. There are not a lot of 10-point comebacks that happen within the last 6:40 of the game. One almost did, but it didn't happen this time. North Carolina comes out, runs 7 plays, goes 80 yards in a minute and 42 seconds to cut the lead to 31-28. We had them in a 3rd and 10. We actually had them in a 1st and 20, a 2nd and 20. And Howell found Javonte Williams for 25 yards there. And then we, again, had them in a 3rd and 10. Not only did they complete a pass on that 3rd and 10 that would have been very, very close to a first down, 9-10 yards. They ended up missing game. If we clean up a few penalties, they're not even in this. I know we'll get to it in just a minute. North Carolina's last couple of plays, they had a couple of drops. And I know a lot of people said, well, they dropped the ball. They dropped the chance to go down and score or tied it up or whatever. Man, if we cut out a couple of penalties, they don't even have those opportunities, right? So, I mean, it goes both ways. And the penalties really kept North Carolina alive in this game a lot longer than they should have. Next play after the penalty, Howell hits Brown for 25 yards and a touchdown, cuts the lead to 3.
Yeah, on this drive, that catch by Williams on when Emmett Rice that was just a great catch. I'm not even gonna lie. He had a highly contested catch, and that was just a great catch. I didn't even think he caught the ball till I saw the replay. And the rest of those penalties, they just killed this drive and gave North Carolina more momentum. And they did what great teams do. Like, they have a great offense. We knew they were going to score, and they took advantage of our mistakes and put us in the chance where we had an opportunity to close this game. And it kind of, I ain't gonna lie, at this point, I knew all Noel fans were worried. Like, I don't know about y'all, but I'm like, do I have to go delete this tweet? They just scored, and that's the longest 3 minutes I don't never seen in my life. That's a lot of time on the clock. When we were up big going into the 3rd quarter, I was like, all right, this game over with. But that last 3 minutes felt like it could have been 3 days, I swear. I was nervous.
Yeah, at that point when it's 28-31, like, man, but in my mind, I'm like, we can't give the ball back to North Carolina, because if they get the ball back, they're going to win. That's just what my mindset was at that point. But yeah, the team, they responded well. And TJ, like you mentioned, we helped North Carolina out a lot there. I have miscues. Obviously that first half was almost flawless, but as a game as a whole, they probably played, maybe like a B game, B-, just because of, simple mistakes that can be cleaned up. And it makes you excited about what this team's going to look like, as the culture continues to change. In last week, well, today they didn't have a single penalty. So that, I'm not saying Florida State's going to come out and not have a single penalty in the next week. But again, these are learning opportunities for the team. And luckily it didn't cost them the game. So I think there's a lot of value to these, because you can point to them on the film and say, guys, listen, we got to clean this up. We can't have this. It worked out for Florida State in the end. But yeah, I was definitely a nervous wreck after that touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. Talking about the way that the Bucs were able to improve stuff on penalties. I mean, there were things that Florida State improved last week from the Notre Dame game to today, right? Last night. Some of the counters and some of the rushes that North Carolina had, we tackled better, I thought, than we did against that Notre Dame game. And so, yeah, things definitely improved. And so hopefully that is a thing that we see improve next week. I want to see a much cleaner game out of Florida State. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But Florida State gets the ball back. And again, another penalty just absolutely shoots us in the foot. We get a false start penalty on a 1st and 10. There's 5 minutes left. There's 4:58 left. The Noles are up 3. And 2 first downs wins this game. North Carolina had 1 timeout, if I remember correctly. So 2 first downs wins this game. Florida State comes out, takes an immediate false start that sets back behind them. That's 11 yards. Without the 5-yard penalty, Florida State gets that first down, keeps the clock moving. At the very least, you're punting the ball back to North Carolina with about a minute to go, right? And no timeouts. Not able to keep that going. North Carolina ends up getting the ball back. Shout out to Richie's favorite punter, a 47-yard field, right? You've seen players shank punts. You've seen people drop punts. You've seen punts get blocked at different colleges all over, and that didn't happen here. An absolute booming punt makes them go a long way. If they're going to beat you, they're going 80 yards to do it. if they're going to tie you, they're going to go a long way too because their kicker wasn't very good. So shout out Richie's favorite punter. Sam Howell sacked on the first play of the next drive, loss of 5, but then throws a 32-yard pass to put him down into Florida State territory. Then they had a 6-yard. They'd have a great second and 16. Clock's moving. We end up getting a pass interference penalty. Could not end up covering Green. They have a first and 10 from our 42, and then throw 4 straight incompletions. I'm sorry, they run the ball, which is kind of weird, and then throw 3 straight incompletions, the last 2 being drops, and the game's pretty much over at that point. It was bend, don't break from the defense a lot in the second half. They broke a couple of times, but ended up holding on for the win. And then we got on here and Richie was lit. So, I mean, it was a fun night holding on. But, yeah, the big takeaways there. The penalty sets us behind the stakes on when we're trying to run the clock out. A big penalty on a pass interference ends up hurting us on a 2nd and long. But then got enough pressure on Howell to not the win.
Yeah, on the drive when we had the ball and just throughout this second half, you just see that we have a long ways to go, but we're getting better. We're still trying to break this losing culture. And that's what we struggle with. Guys, they're still learning how to win. These undisciplined penalties, we fought that and it almost cost us. But on this drive where North Carolina was driving the ball, we get a few sacks. And Sam Howell, he's been on the ground all game. He's been getting hit, bruised up, and he's getting kind of jittery back there. And I believe, despite everybody complaining about those drops from the UNC side, that first one, that pass is a little bit high. If Sam Howell hasn't been getting hit all game, maybe he hits him right on the money and the guy has some room to run. But the angle's slightly off and the guy drops the pass. He should have came down with it, but those things make a difference. Then on the next play, we run the twist inside, put some pressure on Howell. He scrambles out, and this play completely scared me because Lundy was guarding the back, and Woodby's coming down on Howell. Lundy leaves the back. He doesn't need to. So this guy's wide open. But it's 2 guys coming at Howell, guys that he's been getting hit all game, so he rushes the throw, slightly off. That's what pressure can do for you in big-time situations, and they won us a game.
Yeah, and to Freddie's point, I think if Howell has a clean pocket and has time, he makes those throws. And, maybe we're having a different conversation tonight. But the defensive line, again, we have been really different level of energy. I don't know if it's the top 5 team under the lights at Doak. They rose to the occasion. We knew we needed the defense to step up, especially the defensive line, and they did. And I know the second half we gave up a lot of yards and points, but you got to grade the game as a whole because it's 4 quarters. The defense played a solid game because I think it was Brian who picked Florida State to win 28-24, and people were just roasting him like we're going to hold North Carolina under 30. And our offenses, that's impressive. So I came away encouraged. There's a lot of stuff to clean up still. We're far ways away from where we want to be as a team and as a defense specifically. But again, it was another step in the right direction because it would have been easy after Notre Dame to come back, lose to Carolina, or let Carolina drive down the field and lose the game there. But they stepped up when they had to. They did just enough to win. So shout out to the defense, man. And shout out Adam Fuller. I've been very critical of him. I thought he called a really good game.
Defense was really good. Again, that was a good North Carolina offense. I believe they were averaging, I just saw a comment, they were averaging 37 a game before they came into Tallahassee, right? So to hold them under their average quite considerably, right? Almost 10 points, 2 scores under their average was pretty impressive. And Florida State could and should have scored more. A lot to clean up from this game, from the penalty perspective, from the special teams perspective, kicking the ball. The obviously the blocking on special teams is fantastic when we're being kicked the ball too. Things to clean up from a penalty perspective, from a procedural perspective, but always glad when you can have those mistakes and still find a way to get the win. Spotify, SoundCloud, all those places. If you're still watching this with us, and we're going to talk about kind of our outlook on the rest of the year and then get out of here and go, If you're still watching this, if you can hit the retweet, share, like button, follow us on all the social medias, Double Fries Pod. Hey, Freddie's extra sauce segment is going to drop tomorrow. Thinking about making that free for folks, but there's a good chance that it'll be behind our Patreon wall. You should go check that out, patreon.com/doublefriespod. If you can get our Twitter followers up to 2,000 before we drop it, then we'll certainly make it free for everybody. So go follow on Twitter, Facebook. I think the outlook kind of changes, right? I think we were, obviously every game has to get played. Nobody's just going to roll over and die because you want to say it again. I think every team on the schedule at this point is beatable except for Clemson. The other side of that is every single team on the schedule could also beat us, right? There is no game that I would say is an auto win, and there's no game that I would say is an auto loss. There are games that I think we'll have a better chance in, and games I think that'll be tougher, but certainly every game besides Clemson is well within our grasp to go out and win. I'm not saying we win all of them, but I think we have that chance. The Louisville game opened up at a 6.5-point line. It's already down to 5.5, right? So that is going our direction. I don't know. Vegas spreads have never won a game, though. Louisville has one win on the year. They have not been a super impressive team. We'll obviously talk about them more. Their defense weirdly showed up. They held Notre Dame to 12 points this weekend. So that's kind of a Florida State. I'll run through these, and then I'll kind of get you guys' thoughts. Florida State has a 31% chance to win that, according to FPI. They have a 45% chance to beat Pitt. Against NC State, it's down to 33%. NC State's looking a little bit better at 4-1. Clemson game is a laugher. And then Florida State is a favorite, 54% against Virginia and 51% against Duke. So FPI likes us to get to 4 wins. And if we can find somebody to upset somewhere, whether that's NC State, Pittsburgh, or Louisville, we can get to 5 or 6. Obviously, if you win all of them, you get to 7 with the loss to Clemson. So not predicting 7, but what are your thoughts on the rest of the year, guys?
I think outside of that Clemson game, we got a solid shot. If we can see that team we saw from last night, it's going to get scary because the biggest thing for these guys, they should be hella motivated after that game because they left so much on that field and they still came out with a top 5 win. So just imagine if they play discipline, they cut out all these stupid penalties, and then they take advantage on these drives instead of leaving the game with field goals and missing these opportunities. Man, the game could have easily been put away. So they're definitely going to try to take advantage of these opportunities and grow week to week. So if they can play like they played last night and get better and stop leaving plays on the field, we got a great opportunity.
At this point, we've played Miami, we've played North Carolina, we've played Notre Dame. Heading into this North Carolina game, I think we all had it as we all had it as a fairly decisive loss to North Carolina, and you stole one. And that's what you have to do when you're trying to, stack wins at this point. And like you said, TJ, man, I mean, in North Carolina is probably a touchdown better on average than everyone left on our schedule, except for Clemson. Mm-hmm. So we've gone through the one game we thought we were going to lose and then try and pick up some games on the back end. Now we're probably not going to win all the games outside of Clemson the rest of the way. But again, if they show continual growth and confidence is funny, especially in college football. I think momentum is a lot more prevalent in college football than the pros because you have, younger guys that are, still more emotional. And I think it goes a long way. And watching that video of Mike Norvell with that sledgehammer smashing that rock with all the players around him. And shout out James Blackman. He was right there with a huge smile on his face. He was just as happy as anybody. Shout out to him, man. What a great teammate. But I think stuff like that is contagious. Hopefully it carries over into practice today. I'm assuming they practice today and then tomorrow and throughout the week because this is a very winnable game. 6.5 is way too many points. I think I'm not saying Louisville couldn't win by that much, but I'm not decided yet which way I'm leaning. I'm leaning towards picking Florida State outright. But it'll be tricky. You'll have to look into it a little more. But yeah, every game, like TJ said, you can win them all except for Clemson. And maybe Clemson week we'll do like a movie review or something. I don't know.
We'll bring the don't go out there guys on to talk some horror movies, or maybe they'll review maybe they can do this for the game. Yeah, Louisville won their first game of the year against, and I don't want to make this just the Louisville thing, but Louisville won their first game of the year against Western Kentucky, 35-21, and they haven't won a game since then, right? I think that Florida State has a great chance to beat them, right? They lost to Miami, got absolutely blown up by Miami. Lost a close game to Pittsburgh, really got blown out by Georgia Tech, and then played Notre Dame closer than I think a lot of people would have imagined, but only put up 7 points on Georgia Tech. I think we're going to score on that Louisville defense, just like I thought we would score on North Carolina. And it comes down to, can our defense kind of buck up and get stops when they need to. But I think I'm confident that we're the better team than Louisville. We're at 4.5 wins, right? I'd say that we either get 4 or 5. I think we beat Virginia and Duke. And then I think we probably win one of the games that we're going to be a dog against Pittsburgh, NC State, and Louisville. You go 6-5, then you win your bowl game against a team that you are far superior to. They're not going to match us up against some great SEC team or anything like that. You win your bowl game, you go 7-5, you could sell that on the recruiting trail. It's going to be tough to sell 3 wins on the recruiting trail. It's going to be tough to sell 4. We always say this, but Florida State is more talented than every team they're going to play the rest of the year, minus Clemson. And we said that for 3 years now, right? We say that every single year. Hey, well, we're more talented, so let's go see what happens. But it finally looks like we know what we're doing with that talent. It's been 3 years. We've been more talented than we've played, with the exception of, Florida and Clemson and Miami and teams like that, Notre Dame. We've been more talented everywhere we played for the last 50 years, 30 years, right? That's just the talent that is here. And so it finally looks like we kind of know, again, what we're doing with that talent. And so I'm excited to see it. I think that this season we've seen improvement from the Jacksonville State game on. We've seen improvement every week. And I can't wait till Thursday night, man. We can talk about this Louisville game. And I'm not leaning one way or the other, Richie. I'm picking Florida State to cover and win the game. You ain't got to wait for Thursday for mine.
Yeah.
Well, like you said, TJ, we said, after that Miami game, we said, okay, guys, this is where we are. Let's just see progress and growth throughout the rest of the season. And I think we see in that 3 games in a row. I think Jacksonville State, it was a stretch, but they were in it for 4 quarters. And then obviously North Carolina that nobody picked them. Obviously everybody on game day. Well, actually, I think Harlan and Brian picked them. So I'm not going to discount you guys. You guys came out, picked Florida State to win, and they did. But most of the national media
not
making
Harlan.
a comment.
Not Harlan. Ed.
No,
don't let Harlan
Ed,
sit over there and act like he picked them. Don't give Harlan no shout outs.
All right. So Ed,
not
not
the
Harlan.
picks this week, just like you did.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the pick 'em, but yeah, man, they've shown a bad game at some point. But if they go out and beat Louisville, now you really have something to build on going into a bye week. And like you said, TJ, Mike can take that on the trail because he needs all the help he can get. And if he can say, hey, man, you saw what we did. We need you to come help us take us to that next level. And that's kind of what Jimbo did his first year as head coach. Is he was selling the, LaMarcus Joyners of the world that, hey, we're a good team, but we can be great with someone like you.
Yeah, like I said, that over-under set at 4.5 in my mind. You beat Louisville, and that over-under probably moves to 5, right? Yeah. 5, 5.25, 5.5, somewhere in there. And you're right. You win that Louisville game, and then you get a bye week for Pitt, right? I don't know if that Pitt quarterback's gonna be back or not, but because I'm gonna pick that win too. This is a parlay right now. I like if Florida State beats Louisville, I like them to beat Pitt too. Freddie?
Shoot. Hey.
And then I like us to beat Clemson too.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
I like us to beat everybody outside of Clemson. That is what it is. They tough. Like, ain't too many teams finna play with them this year. But I have a game where this team doesn't show up. But if we're truly making this growth mentally, that's the biggest thing with this team. Mentally, they'll fight and find a way to win some of these games, even if we take a step back 1 week.
Man, teams go with their quarterback, right? And there's a lot of games we should have lost in 2014, or a few games we should have lost in 2014. But teams follow the mindset of their quarterback. And Jameis wasn't letting us lose those games. And I'm not saying that Travis is Jameis by any means, but I know that Travis ain't going to quit. And I know that he is going to, like, his mindset is going to be, think of a cliche, balls to the wall, let's go every single play. Shoulder falling off, don't care. Running for this first down, 19 yards. You keep Travis healthy, knock on wood. Somebody asked about the injury. None of us have any inside info, man. We're just here watching games with you. But I mean, maybe Freddie does, but he don't want to burn any source out, at least at this point on Sunday night. But I don't have any idea on the injury, but he said he was good. Man, he's good. You know, if something else comes out, we'll talk about it then. But I'm riding with Jordan Travis, and I'm glad the team is too.
I loved his post-game press conference. He's asked about his injury, and he's like, "No, I'm 100%." He's like, "There was nobody that was taking me out of that game. If my brothers are going to be out there fighting for me, I want to be out there fighting for them." And it was a breath of fresh air, man, to have that kind of mentality. To someone, and he backs it up, right? He's a tough guy, man. He took some hits. Like we already talked about, his shoulder was he might have had a dislocated shoulder, is what it kind of looked like. You just pop it back in and go out and play. But he is a warrior, and a game or a half. And I really,
with the way Travis plays, it's bound to happen. He has to learn to protect himself a little bit more. I understand the mentality you're playing with, warrior mentality, but at the same time, you're a quarterback. So some of these unnecessary hits, you have to take, like Cam Newton, man. That's one of the biggest guys in the NFL. He's not trying to take those big hits anymore. Like, get down. Like, you don't want to take those hits. So I'm worried that we may have to run into an issue with playing the game without him when the injury comes. We don't know what the case is with him right now, but he brings us so much energy. Can we keep that up without him in the game is my biggest question. That's what worries me.
He's got to stay healthy. We've got to stay smarter on just our discipline. Procedure penalties are annoying, right? But effort penalties don't really bother me. But the 15-yard penalties are absolutely the worst, right? You get a false start because you got a new guy back there with the cadence. I think our procedure penalties have been way down this year compared to last year. Guys are lining up. Guys are in the right place. You get a false start because you got a new quarterback in there or a new guy calling, for the snap. It's kind of understandable, right? But I thought the procedural penalties have been much better. We've got to get better with the personal foul stuff and, keeping our heads in the game. Keeping our head up if we're Durden to not get kicked out of the game. Other than that, man, want to know this week, 2-3 on the season, and we're going 3-3 this week. Mark that tape, Harlan. You guys got any shout outs before we get out of here?
Shout out to Coach Fuller, man. Shout out to Janaris Robinson. Shout out Big Marv. Shout out to Emmett Rice. He stepped up in this game, and shout out to Dix, man. He stepped in for Warner, and he made a few mistakes, but he's a young guy. He's getting better each and every week. He made some plays out there as well. He's going to continue to grow the more he's out there. And then Brownlee, I like what we saw to them, and Dotson. I think he's our guy. Opposite of Samuel, he's that guy. He just made some great plays, but I thought Dotson was in good position on a lot of those plays, and it was great to see, man. Those guys, they really up in the big time game, and let's keep it going. Shout out to everybody, man. Shout out to Go Nose, baby.
Yeah,
somebody in the comments said shout out to the entire team for the win. Sorry, go ahead, Richie.
Yeah, man. Shout out Dennis Briggs, opted back in and could not have picked a better game to come back. And then shout out Coach Norvell, man. He took over this program. It's been the wildest year ever from, the pandemic hitting in March, not being able to work with these players, the Marvin Wilson thing, the Warren Thompson thing. I saw that video watching him smash that rock. I saw months of frustration being released and just seeing how happy the team was. I saw several videos and pictures of the team lighting up cigars in the locker room after the game, after taking down the Tar Heels from Tobacco Road. So, yeah, shout out Coach Norvell. I mean, I think we got ourselves a football coach, and I think he's the right guy for us.
Shout out you guys. Shout out this team and this podcast. I'm hoping we get a winning season, guys. I don't want to do the whole Trey thing where we get a losing season off the bat. Shout out Trey for putting up with the hellish 2 years of Willie Taggart's era here. But yeah, shout out the team. Glad we got the win. Shout out to Ed and Brian for picking it. And go Rays. World Series starts on Tuesday. So we'll have to figure out when we're recording on Thursday night because I think we play then. Oh, no, I think Thursday is the off day. So I can't wait. Can't wait to break down this Louisville, this win that we're going to get about against Louisville on Thursday night. So who wants the song tonight?
I'll take it. Win by J-Rock. Yeah.
Let's go.
Let's
Play
go.
us out.
Got us
Oh, wait.
some-
I got one more. My guy Rex said he commented and said he's a Gator fan. Said he wants a shout out because he was tweeting last night that Florida is so lucky that they opted out and didn't have to see this Florida State offense because their defense is – our defense stepped up this week. I haven't seen their defense step up. So I think he's right. I think they're pretty lucky they chickened out of playing the ACC this year because I think Jordan Travis probably goes for about maybe like an easy 350 on the ground and in the air against them. I mean, like he's absolutely lighting them up if we play them. So shout out to the Florida Gators. Shout out to the Florida Gators who got lucky to not have to play us.
The Coach Norvell shout out. TJ, I think you're the one who brought this up. First coach in the Big Three at his current program to beat a top 5 team. So took him 5 games. You know, Mullen, Manny, I don't know what y'all are doing, but Norvell's already got this thing rolling.
Well, Manny's never going to have a top 5 win ever, so he'll get fired first. I mean, Mullen may sneak up. I mean, LSU was top 5 when they beat them a couple years ago, but we don't have to talk about it. It's fine. But yeah, Manny's never getting one. So yeah, shout out to the Florida Gators and the COVID boys over there for not having to play Florida State this year because it would be embarrassing for y'all if we